Yeah, I'm Hannah Strack. I am the co-founder and co-owner of FoxHen Creatives, which started as a webcomic that turned into a shirt shop, which then became an illustration and design studio, and now we make games. We made our first game across the last 8 months. It successfully funded on Kickstarter in 25 minutes. It was Trash Cult.
It's time for an adventure in the worlds of user experience and game design. On
Level 4
of the Design Thinking Games podcast, join old school UXers and aspiring game designers Michael Schofield, Tim Broadwater, and an array of quirky characters from pixelated heroes to mischievous NPCs in search of the ultimate player experience. Design thinking is a process that is applied to different types of games in this podcast. If you're wondering whether your favorite games have already come up, you can listen through the backlog at designthinkinggames.com. Now, Rapid Protobot, fire the design thinking laser.
That is a 2 to 4 like casual, pretty just like fun game where you're playing as little leaders of animals that collect trash food, and whoever gets the most of their food that they need plus a animal to worship it in the end wins. So that's the kind of vibe we throw down as a studio. Is just like fun little games that you can play, nothing too crunchy. And that kind of vibes with me. I'm not a crunchy girl. I like silly little things.
I'm sure you've had people say to you many times, "That sounds trashy," or make any joke.
Oh
on
yeah.
trash.
Yeah. Look, I am here to make the trash games. I will claim that proudly.
Walk us through how you kind of got to making FoxHen Creative.
I mean, when I was really young, I have vivid memories of playing Pretty Pretty Princess and getting like overly competitive about it.
It's a good one, yeah.
But after that, like I grew up with games in the family, so we played a lot of like Five Crowns, Quiddler, Scrabble, the classics, like Monopoly, all that kind of stuff. I didn't really get into indie games until we decided that maybe we want to design a game. So I came at indie games from less this is just fun to do, and more of like intense research. We must dissect all of these games, figure out how they work, why people like them, why we like them, what we would do differently with them. Which I understand a lot of people in the game design, I would say, hobby, come at indie games like their origin story is a little different than that. But since the two of us have a research background, I think it was the most natural take for us to get into games that way. Joe is my co-designer, co-business owner. We've been working together since 2016. We started FoxHen at the very end of it. We actually got into business together by starting a student agency together at the community college we were going to, where we oversaw like 12 designers, give or take, depending on what time of year. And through that process, we're like, I think we actually really like working together and we should do more crazy stuff. Because like who at 18 is like, it'd be cool starting a design agency business in your college because we don't have enough work to do.
Students who just needed representation or work or defense, or like, what is the thought?
So we started it because it's a community college and you're generally there for 2, sometimes 3 years, and you're getting an associate's out of it. There's a lot of, you need a piece of paper to get a job. If you don't have that 4-year piece of paper, you need a lot of experience. But when you're already balancing a full course load, trying to get through your associates, it's hard to get that job. It's hard to get a paying job because everyone wants to do a free internship. So we came at this student agency with the mindset of, let's give people in our program some actual hands-on experience with clients that they can put on their resume straight out of that 2-year degree and get a job even without transferring. So we did also internal stuff for the college, which how we worked, it was you build interdepartmentally, so it still counts as actual like work experience. But we did have a slew of real life clients that people would bring in from, whether it's the invention kind of group that was there or local communities that were like, I have a small business, the budget is not all the way there, but I can still pay you guys, and I think it'd be good for you to get some experience. So lots of branding. We made an art festival at one point that went horrible.
Art
That was me.
festival gone wrong.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, the art festival is why I had any trepidation at all getting into a big project like, designing a game, because I've seen how if you don't have control over the marketing and the marketing isn't done right,
Mm,
how much impact that has over a large project, which is why we were very, very like cross all the T's, dot all the I's on the marketing side of launching our game. We like to chase the creative energy, like where it takes us is where we go. Um, we're storytellers at every stage of that. So, I mean, we start with a webcomic. There's not much more direct storytelling than making a webcomic. And then we transition that. We're like, oh, we love all these illustrations. And what if we put them on things? And people like that. And then we were like, well, what if we brought it to shows? And we started doing more of our illustration. We just started leaning more that way. And we were like, well, COVID hit. And our illustrations at art shows, when you're home and you're just looking at your four walls, you start collecting a lot of prints and running
mm.
out of wall space. So we would see more and more people. They're like, I love your art, but I have nowhere to put it. So we're
Mm,
like, well, we really have to pivot in a way that people can still buy our art, use our art because they like it. They just don't have a
yeah.
space for it. So let's make something that they can use and it's easy to store away. And we had gone to do portfolio reviews for someone in Sinclair University, Sinclair Community College, that's what it is. Um, and one of their alumni was speaking about how they worked with a game studio when they were working with their agency. And I was like, honestly, it's still art. It's just playable art. And I think we could run with that. And
Mhm.
that's how we like made our full transition from like storytelling in the most literal sense to storytelling in a very interactive way.
So you seem to be, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Hannah, but you have the marketing strategy with
Mhm.
kickstarting a game and the whole processes. But generally, you have a background in marketing. That is your 9 to 5, right? And so, how does that
Yes.
work with FoxHen Creative? But then specifically, how does it work with like Trash Cult?
Yeah, so I mean, while my degree was graphic design and advertising, it very much leaned more on the graphic design. So my marketing experience comes from working in marketing departments. I've been in marketing
Nice.
departments since 2019, so 5 years now of like being in a marketing department proper. I would say I would comfortably have 7 years of experience marketing if we include some previous stuff. But like 9 to 5, 40 hours a week marketing, 5 years.
Hmm.
So while my experience is directly in food and restaurant industry, a lot of it transfers. When you consider me making a game, you making a game is just a giant product release.
Hmm.
And considering you can make a kick-ass product, but if people don't know about it, what are we doing? Like, is it just for us? That's fine if it's just for us. But if you want to make any amount of money, even just to break even on things, you got to get it in a lot of people's faces because the conversion
Yeah.
rates low. So
Yeah.
yeah, so for Trash Cult, I knew going in we needed probably 2 months bare minimum of marketing this game pretty hardcore. 3 months is like, oh, that's more comfy. Some people say 6 months is where they like to be. But for us, we did December 6th was the first day I started running ads, and we launched our campaign on January 30th. So, right around 2 months. Um, Lots of influencers, a fair amount of ads, a lot of going to conventions,
Mm.
mostly just talking about the game. Like every conversation with any new person I had, oh, did you know that I'm making this game? You should check this out. Do you have anyone that likes games? Here's a business card. Check out this QR code. Most of marketing is just nonstop talking.
I must admit that the idea of marketing really like overwhelms me, but I also acknowledge that it's so critical, and it just feels like this overwhelming wall.
Yeah, I mean, that is how most people feel about marketing. Especially if you are very comfortable in the game design space. Like, it is a very different side of your brain to now be like, okay, now I have to show it off to the world and get people to like give me money for this thing. So when I say it is 2 to 3 months of hardcore marketing, that does not mean you need to sit in front of a camera and shoot TikToks all day. That could be managing an ad account through Facebook and making sure that your audiences are right, that you're getting people through your funnel, understanding your sales funnel and email contact funnel. That strategy can take you like 30 hours a week of just fine tuning things and making sure that things are like as good as they can be. When it comes to content, honestly, we've been working on this game for 8 months. I've been posting about this game for 8 months on TikTok, but that's because I wanted to network, not necessarily market. So the content that I was making in those 2 to 3 months, yes, there's some of my content you can tell is like, please, sir, check out my Kickstarter.
Please, sir, just $1 to finish a back. Yes.
But a lot of the content's not. A lot of it's just talking about game design in general and like, talking with my online friends to a bigger audience that other people just happen to see it. And people like to hear that kind of stuff. It's not necessarily solicitous.
It seems like from everyone we're talking to, and basically what you just said with ads, going to conventions, talking to people, influencers, and newsletters. I mean, you kind of have to do it all. Is that what you would think?
Yeah, I would say it's a pretty big spread. So like 28.7% of our email list of 1,567 people backed the campaign. So that is like,
oh, wow. That's
a
good.
huge, that's like that is a large conversion rate. So you can make those happen. 60% of our first 24-hour funds came from people who were on that like Kickstarter watch page that they chose, like notify me about it. And there's going to be crossover between that email list and that Kickstarter page because you're normally telling people in your email list, go click that green button. That way, like if I'm late to sending my email, you still get notified. But those two percentages are like insane numbers to be $38,000 and 60% of like the first 24 hours, which I think was $12,000. Like that's what, $7,500 or something is just people that were watching the page.
But did you have a specific strategy or calendar for newsletters or?
So we used our email list mostly as we promise not to annoy you with emails. We will only give you updates about this game when it is coming out, when the Kickstarter is happening, and then the updates after, like late pledges, major updates. So we try to be as the least amount tiresome as we possibly can with our emails, and more only use it as this is a very important thing that you need to see. And then our socials are normally more of the we're going to post more regularly to them. That's where you're going to hear from us because you're going to come to us to listen to that rather than us just holding up a sign in front of your face. Like, hi, we have information.
Thirst is a 2 to 4 player vampire versus vampire game of Dominion in which players become powerful, monstrous, and bloodthirsty vampires. Rise from the graveyard hungry to find that you are not the only creature of darkness in town. Fight other vampires for dominion over neighborhoods and for influence. Hunt, but hunt wisely. The first vampire to accrue an influence score of 10 wins and can finally slake their thirst. Thirst is on Kickstarter. Sign up to get notified of its launch at thirstboardgame.com. Find Thirst and other things we're working on at designthinkinggames.com. I don't need like real numbers or whatever, but you're an indie game designer. You're doing this on the side, a hobby profession, right? You're trying to do something. you have N budget. How much of that should actually be reserved for like ad spend, for marketing
Yeah,
and things of
it's a good
that
question.
nature?
I'm happy to talk numbers. So we'll start at the win of like when to actually you think you should be starting your marketing. The win is highly for us dependent on we're basically ready to launch. We have games that are ready to roll, which means I'm able to photograph games and have actual content of them. Um, that is not the place for everybody. Some people still like to be doing development work when they're doing their Kickstarter. It's just what I felt most comfortable with doing our first game. When it comes to how much to spend on your ads, most people say the 10% of your whatever you're thinking of your Kickstarter fund is probably what you're going to spend in ads. This range pretty true for us. We ended up at around 38K, and our ad cost, I'm not considering influencers, but our ad costs like Meta, Google, and a little bit of TikTok was, I believe, 3,200. So that is including both prior to launch and during launch ads. Our influencer costs were another $1,600 because we went very influencer heavy. I had 17 influencers on my spreadsheet that we sent games to. And influencers was a
Nice.
large part of what made our campaign a success. We
Mhm.
had a video from Nick Sparkman, who it got, I think it ended up at like 750,000 views or something on TikTok. We ended up seeing spikes for the 3 days following that ended up being like an extra 150 high quality leads, which we define a high quality lead as someone who did that dollar down, like X Seekers is doing,
Mhm.
versus someone who just put their email in and said, yes, notify me about the game, which, I mean, we saw over 50% of our high quality leads end up converting. Those having one video just pop off can be the difference between making 15K and 40K, because I'm pretty sure we would end up in that realm. And for us, that 15K point was actually our true break even. Our Kickstarter, what we set as our costs going into it, what we were setting as our funding goal was for our printing and then the shipping from China to the United States. That's where we got our 3,500 from. And then we were, because we personally invested as a business, as I said, Joe and I have been working together on FoxHen since 2016. We had a nice little nest egg in order to invest in ourselves to do something fun. This was that. The
Nice.
extra money that we made off of that is like, ooh, we get our money back into the account, which is nice. And we can further invest instead of like having to do other things to
Yeah.
help make up for it and looking at our further sales.
Could you do this? Maybe not at the success, but could you make your first game and get it funded on Kickstarter with the zero market spend?
Yeah. I also,
Ooh.
how low was your like? I'm just kind of curious. Like, how low did you set the bar? It's like, okay, if we made 7,000, we're happy. If we made 2,000, we're because I know some people do very modest Kickstarters,
Mhm.
and so what would have been the you would have been happy with?
I mean, okay, from the cheesy level, I would have been happy if like 50 people said, I love your game enough to buy it. That wouldn't have funded us. So my true like financial happiness was like, we are funded. We can actually
Yeah,
pay for the games being printed and shipped over here without investing more into it. Um,
gotcha.
that's my little happy point. But back to the could you do it on zero marketing spend? It depends on how much you consider marketing spend. Because if you're just saying, I don't want to do ads, I don't want to do influencers, but I'm willing to go to conventions and talk about my game, I would still consider that marketing spend. But some may not. But I would think that would be very important if you're not doing any real digital footprint outside of organic to get your face in front of people in person then. But you're still looking at $80, $100, $200 badges to do that. So it's much lower than like, 5K between influencers and ads.
But it's not zero.
Right. Yeah.
If anyone wants to learn more about FoxHen Creative or Trash Cult, how can people learn more and get in contact with you?
Yeah, if you would like to learn more about FoxHen Creatives, you can go to foxhencreatives.com. You can also find any Trash Cult stuff at Trash Cult Game on pretty much any social, and you are more than welcome to email me and Joe. Just go through the contact form on that foxhencreatives.com if you need help on marketing or game stuff, or you just want to chat, tell us we're cool, We'll take compliments.
Or request possums or other animals to be So how many people requested possums? Has it been more than one, or?
Oh yeah, there's been plenty. As soon as we started running ads, people were like, "Why is there no possum?" And I had to make posts showing off the possum card that we have in our deck to be like, "Look, there's a possum." I swear, we weren't like shunning the possums.
Welcome back. Your host, Mr. Graves, returns with a brand new collection of terrifying tales designed to chill you to the bone.
Make the biggest discovery this world has ever seen.
Help! What is happening to me?
We also have an assortment of characters that are just dying to meet you.
It took him to hell.
Can you understand us better now?
You may need to leave the light on for this one. Your Horror Show, Season 2, premiering on all podcast platforms May 14th. Listen, if you dare.
Get ready for the game that's hot. D12's what you've got. 12 questions gotta be quick. Can you handle it? Can you stick? D12, D12, roll the dice, answer well. D12, D12, will you triumph or fail? Rapid fire, no time to rest. Put your knowledge to the test. From gaming to UX, it's all a fair game. Answer right and you learn your fame. D12, D12, roll the dice, answer well. D12, D12, will you triumph or fail? With 12 questions and whole lot of fun. D12's the game that's number one.
I saw you shake some die around.
I got it.
Whenever you're ready, give us that first number.
I got 2.
So you're playing. So you're a physical girly and you're playing games. Do you prefer theater of the mind or maps and miniatures?
I prefer the mind very much. Pretty much any mind games. Big fan. Do I roll it? Ooh, okay. 12.
Goes. What is the most usable or enjoyable game that you've ever played?
So it's not like the fan favorite game, but based on how my family interacts with it, the most useful game I have in my library to please my family is Garden Bow. It scratches the itch for people as far as like relatively quick. Everyone in the family picks it up pretty well. New user friendly if we got someone that wants to jump in. Overall, great game. 7.
If you could make up any title to give yourself at work or whatever, what would be that title?
My title that Joe sometimes gives me is the Supreme Design Leader, the Design Queen. I mean, all of these, that kind of realm.
It's like hail, yeah.
Yeah, something lofty that I don't necessarily want other people to call me, but I just want to have, just for like my own self.
No, I like it. I'm going to intersperse like chanting now.
It's very on brand.
When you make an attack, what attribute do you use? Do you use strength, dexterity, charisma?
It's going to be brute strength. One or the other. It's either I'm sneaking up or like it's just in your face.
I love that. Strength or dexterity, and you're like, both. I do both.
Yeah, it depends on the vibe. 6.
What game is a guilty pleasure?
I was looking over at my games here. I don't know if it's guilty, but like the family one, as far as like 5 crowns, where everyone else is like, it's 5 crowns. But I love it. I love 5 crowns. It's not like a storytelling like indie game, like where people are like, it's not Everdell, or it's an oldie, but it's a goodie. Did I say 7? I think I said 7.
What is your favorite card game?
Can I say my own? Can I be that like narcissistic?
You can. Every time someone plugs their own game, we have to take a shot.
Yeah, because there's plenty of good card games out there. There's tons of silly ones, but I feel like if you make a card game, you get to say it's your favorite for at least like 6 months after it launches. I haven't slept in 5 months. 10.
Ooh, this one I don't know. What is your gut reaction when you hear the phrase UI/UX?
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's like, I don't deal with UI UX. I love human-centered design, which normally should be related to
HCI.
UI UX. I don't think a lot of human design ends up in UI UX like it should. 11.
What is your genre? Like alternate history, sci-fi, cyberpunk?
I like silly little animals. I just got Axolotl in the mail from
Yes.
Is it? Yeah, it's Axel with the AXE. I'm excited to play that one. I got Ninja Sloths in recently. So like that's, silly little animals that are doing like, maybe murder.
Destroy!
I'll take 9. It's fine.
In the most dramatic way possible, tell us what your favorite color mode is. RGB, hexadecimal, RGBA, Pantone, CMYK. Favorite color mode.
I know it's favorite, but I just gotta say, as a designer, I cannot stand Pantone. Like their level of elitism to own colors, like own a whole color system, and then have the nerve to charge Adobe so much that Adobe is like, no, we're not paying for your colors anymore, and you need this as your industry, so you're gonna have to pay extra per month. But anyway, RGB is my favorite. The saturation levels, normally even going to print, because every printer has a different CMYK profile that no one wants to give you. So you end up actually reverting back to RGB to a different CMYK, so your colors end up different. Whereas RGB stands true. It's probably going to print better anyway if you just give them the RGB file.
Yeah, but I just like crap on Pantone. I'm here for it. Drag them.
I hate
Pantone
so much. They get the
Design Thinking
force,
Games, the Pantone hating podcast. Boo.
Pantone's gonna come for me. I'm gonna get like some weird just hit from Pantone.
You're gonna disappear just like that guy from Boeing.
Yeah.
The Pantone whistleblower. Gone.
Yeah. Well, you guys know it's recorded now. There's evidence. If I disappear after some Pantone trial.
We have video that states otherwise.
I got 7, which I think I've had. I'm not sure.
Oh, well, we just go to the next one. Are you a Paragon or a Renegade? When you are choosing your own adventure, playing a game, do you take the moral path and you treat people well? Or do you punch people like in a... Like, are you the bad guy?
Do I like the people I'm playing with? Because I'm much more likely to punch the people I like.
That's interesting.
Like, I feel like they can take it. Like, they understand that I'm doing it with love and not just because I can.
What is the most overrated game?
This one's a hard one for me because normally I'm the type of person that will make a claim for Cards Against Humanity, for Monopoly. Because I think any game has the power to bring people together, which is the whole point of playing games.
I agree.
Boo! Create drama. Boo!
But you know, I'm not the biggest Everdell person. I think there's, I get a little bored.
You can never show your face at PAX Unplugged.
I know. I'm gonna be there at
the Everdell conference.
I know. Like it's fine. It's just not my favorite. It's great for people that love it. I own a copy. I've tried to get into it. It's just not my thing.
I've played it. I would never own it. Not my thing either, you know, but
yes.
I can respect its beauty and its size and its architecture and everything, but I'm not going to buy it. It's not going to be added to my collection. So
I respect the product and marketing prowess behind that brand. I mean, the level of expansions that they have come out with and been able to sell, kudos.
All right, the final question, the ultimate question.
Roll the die and then say 1. Whatever it is.
1.
We're all sitting around the table. We're playing this like narrative dark game. A cloud moves across the sun and everything gets a little darker. The camera turns on you and you just rolled a 1. You have just failed your last death save. You are dying. What are your final words?
It has been a great adventure with you all, but I think death is my next exciting adventure. Go on without me.
Death is the greatest adventure.
That's good. That's a good one.
This season, we really promise Design Thinking Games is going to be more active on various social media. We understand as aged Gen Xers / millennials, elder millennials, that like, yo.
Wait. I'm firmly rooted in Zennial. I am a Zennial. So I am right between Gen X and Millennial.
Okay. As a Zennial and a Millennial elder, we are we acknowledge that, look, like our social media game for the last 2 seasons hasn't been on point, but this season you're missing out if you're not following Design Thinking Games on the 3 T's, TikTok, Twitch, and Twitter. Probably in that order, as Twitter is a dumpster fire. Well, on TikTok, you can actually see Ben shooting some like excellent, like just like footage of some of the really cool and interesting games we're playing. As you know, we look at games clinically and deconstruct them to the point of no longer being enjoyable, but that makes for some really good footage. The other thing you'll find there are like this kind of like network of amazing indie designers who we are interviewing, some of whom, or we're interviewing on this show for the season, and we're all going to be engaging there. We'd love for it. If you're into user experience, if you're into the player experience, if you're into the craft of game design, if you're into us, Design Thinking Games.
Thank you for listening and connecting with Design Thinking Games on TikTok, Twitch, and Twitter. You can also check out designthinkinggames.com to request topics, ask questions, or see what else is going on. Until next time, game on. Any final thoughts for our listeners, Rapid Protobot?
Destroy.